they still have another one of those to play in late November. I mean, those games that your network has to carry, and to some extent CBS has, I mean, that's going to be a tough week. It's going to be, and a lot of fans will get mad at the national media for saying terrible things about what the SEC is doing. But look, it's worked to this point, and I don't see any. The smartest thing Mike Slive could have possibly done, and his legacy means a great deal, not just to the SEC, but also to college football. The smartest thing that he could have done is maintained an 8-game schedule and maintained those open dates before the really big games for everyone, and made certain that all of the other conferences understand that the verbiage within the new college football playoff contract had to be 4 best teams, not 4 championship teams. Because it's that edict that I think that he was able to run through and make happen has kept the SEC in the best possible perch to keep holding up crystals at the end of every year. And that, of course, in Alabama's dominance. But, I hear people say this all the time, and a lot of my colleagues say it. When you see Alabama warm up versus the team they're going to go up against warm up, you know who's going to win that game. And I understand the Jimmies and the Joes are what make the great teams great. I mean, we could say the same thing about Ohio State, in the Big Ten. But I'm sorry, at some point, we have to point out that they haven't been challenged. And they won't be challenged until they probably go to Baton Rouge, and then Auburn when they play Auburn, and then possibly Georgia. So of the teams in the top 4 right now, they've been the least challenged, best-looking team out there. And unfortunately, in college football, with the way it's set up, it really doesn't matter that they haven't played anybody. I guess I'm the only one saying it.
Sometimes you wonder exactly what you get out of games like we just played, but the one thing I was really pleased with was, our players went out there and played with the right competitive character, started the game fast, played hard in the game, tried to do something to continue to establish an identity as a team, regardless of the resistance that we had. We tried to play to our standard, which was really, really good. There's things that we can obviously improve on both sides of the ball and special teams, and that's something that we will continually work to try, to do. But, one of the things that's most concerning is when other players have opportunities to play, what's their, level of performance. We didn't finish the game very well. We missed a couple field goals, gave up 14 points with the second defense in the game, and, executed, not to the level and the standard that we'd like to see those guys play to. We have a lot of confidence in both of our guys here, and we have a lot of confidence in Tua, and he has played extremely well in every game. I think he's right on target most of the time, not only in where he delivers the ball, but who he delivers it to and why he should do it that way. I think the coaches have done a really good job of, helping him be able to understand exactly what the expectation is. And I think, he would be the first to tell you that all the players on offense, the protection has been, pretty good for him, and the receivers have done a good job of getting open. So the combination of those things is he's been very, very efficient and played very, very well. Now, I expect every player to play that way, but he's probably exceeded that to some degree in terms of his consistency, and hopefully we'll be able to do the things we need to do to help him continue to play with that kind of consistency. This is what I call a little bit of a trap game for us in terms of, all the folks out there look at who they played and what the scores were, and, don't go get prepared the way you need to get prepared and go play to your standard and the level that you have to play to beat any team in the SEC on the road.
All right, tell the truth, guys. Alabama starters won't play a full game till November.
That's true.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, but it's true. It's crazy.
Right?
Has Tua thrown a pass in the fourth quarter yet?
I don't think he's been.
I don't think he's not even in the stadium anymore. He goes home.
He's got a 4:30 class on Saturday.
All right, tell the truth. Arkansas and Texas A&M need to move back on campus for this game. Paul?
I don't agree with that. I mean, this is an aberrational year, but I think that game means a lot to people in both states, and I think Arlington is a good place for it.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one, Paul, because Arkansas is spending all this money on upgrading their stadium. It's like if you're going to spend all that cash, why are you going to every other year give up a home game? And they're already playing one in Little Rock.
Let me explain. First of all, they shouldn't be playing in Little Rock. They're playing this week, but Jerry Jones wants the game.
Jerry Jones
gets the game.
Yeah, true. All right, Paul, check out this full screen. Tell the truth. Which one of these SEC coaches is going to get their first win in the SEC? These are all new coaches. They've never won an SEC game. It's not fair to put Matt Luke up there, but it's fair.
So we're talking about this week?
Well, no. Who do you think's going to tell the truth? Who's going to get the first win in the SEC out of these guys?
There's a front runner, right? Just based on who they're playing.
It's going to be Matt Luke.
Yeah, I mean they've got Arkansas.
All right.
And we have seen him play. Now we have heard him speak. We're speaking of Tua. He talked today in Tuscaloosa about a number of things, including his relationship with Jalen Hurts.
The unique thing about it was I think the first game where Coach named me as a starter, where I think it was after the Louisville game. Jalen's usually in the front of me before our flex lines, and Jalen told me to come in the front. Like, bro, you got it. This is your team. You can go in the front. And I told him no. Like that's you. And to have someone like Jalen stick within it. With knowing that I've been the starter here for 2 years. And to have someone come in the front of me now. The kind of character that he has, and the kind of maturity that he's shown throughout the year within our team this year, I think that's something special. We hear things going around with, other quarterbacks and whatnot, but to have Jalen still stick with it truly tells how he was raised as a person and kind of testifies to his family as well. Our guys joke around here and there, about being good and whatnot, but like we don't conversate too much about it, But the thing I really do like about our team this year is everybody's really, really close with one another. Our offensive line is really close with our receivers. Our running backs are really close with our receivers. Our receivers are really close with our running backs. Just everyone's so close this year that it makes things so much fun, so that when we do go out there, when the ones, when the twos, when the threes go out there, everyone's so happy for each other. And it just leaves room for none of that, with talking about who's on what list, if we're going to beat whatever team. None of that matters up to this point, because we're just having fun with what we're doing right now.
Watching all of this unfold. Alex, thank you for joining us. Tell us what it was like in that room as we heard from Tua, heard him talk about a number of important issues concerning this Crimson Tide football team.
Well, it's funny because a year ago he would have been the first to tell you that he didn't expect to be in this situation, didn't think he'd displace a starter in Jalen Hurts, who was a reigning SEC Offensive Player of the Year. But so far he's handled this all in stride. He cracked jokes. He deflected where you're supposed to deflect and praised his receivers more than anything. At one point, somebody asked him about his escapability in the pocket, and he joked that sometimes he'll take the snap, do a backflip, and then try to throw the pass. He's not doing that, but he's doing just about everything else right now in Tuscaloosa and Alabama. He has this team on the right track, and this offense obviously heading in the right direction.
Before we get too deep into where the Crimson Tide is going, give us some more insight, if you can, on Jalen Hurts, because many wondered whether he would be around at this point in time. Clemson lost Kelly Bryant, but Alabama kept Jalen Hurts. What do you know about that?
I know it wasn't an easy decision for him and his family, and you just think about the pride of being a guy. You go out and you have to be the backup against teams that you've beaten at least once and multiple times in your career. It wasn't an easy decision weighing that second year of eligibility. But ultimately, they decided, this was going to be a business decision, and they looked at a couple of different things. One, he was going to continue to play. We've seen the number of snaps he's taken. He's probably going to finish in the area of 300 snaps this season. But ultimately, the ability to work with Dan Enos, a dedicated quarterbacks coach. You remember the last few years, they've had an offense coordinator sort of double as the quarterbacks coach. So that one-on-one time, the development he gets there, all of that sort of combined, and his, of course, being a good teammate in this, I think it was ultimately a decision that, look, we're going to stay. It may not be easy, but there were no easy decisions in this. And ultimately, Alabama and Jalen Hurts are both, hopefully, in their instance, going to benefit from the decision to stay.
Alex, explain to the audience the decision. Tua speaking today, seemingly a big deal. What's the general policy at Alabama? We know we don't hear from assistant coaches until later. What about players? I mean, we talk to them, but why so long on Tua speaking to the media?
Well, I think the general policy at Alabama is don't make a big deal about anything if they can help it. And Tua has obviously been a big deal from the minute he set on the football field the national championship. But I can't help but think that Jalen's decision as far as do I redshirt or do I not redshirt, that coming down to last Saturday, him going on the field, playing that fifth game and removing all doubt, and then a couple of days later you see Tua. I think they didn't want Tua to have to answer questions on Jalen's behalf. So I think that timing played a role in it. Obviously, you can keep us in the media at bay for so long, but when a guy like Tua has thrown 11 touchdowns and no interception is playing like he is, eventually they're going to have to throw him to the wolves, and today just seemed to be the right deal.
Alex, you're there, and certainly in Alabama, every aspect of this program is fascinating to the people, but generally around the country, Alabama, and I say this not disparagingly, but truthfully, has become a big bore. They're so good that their games, and even on a program like this, doesn't get a lot of attention. What's it like there? And not that anyone cares what the rest of the country is thinking, but already the conversation is not about whether Alabama will be good or great, but is this the best Alabama team of all time?
Yeah, I mean, we jokingly call them the Death Star. I mean, it's just this thing that keeps plodding through the galaxy and winning game after game and national championship after national championship. And part of it is the way they go back into the team that sort of removes the headlines you might see at other places. But you do see signs here and there in Tuscaloosa when you're at a home game and it's 5 minutes before kickoff and the student section isn't as full as you remember it 4 or 5 years ago, or they're leaving at halftime. And I know it drives Nick Saban up a wall when he doesn't see a full 60 minutes there. But when you've been winning like Alabama has, there's the buzzword complacency sets in around this town. So you do see signs of it taken for granted. But I'll tell you what, in the building, the remarkable thing about Alabama, and I think the secret to their success is, as much as they're winning, as much as we get flabbergasted by the scores, it's what you saw at quarterback, that any starter can be replaced at any time, and that competition every single day in practice, I think, is what keeps them on edge and keeps them from losing that edge when it looks like they're the team to beat every single week.
I hear from some of my friends there that the biggest complaint is place kicking. And Alex, this is not a new conversation. Why can't Alabama ever have a good kicker? I know I sound like a fan asking, but I ask on behalf of the fans.
It's almost like Nick made a deal with the devil, right? He's going to get all these NFL guys at every position, but the one thing you can't have is a kicker. I think he's found a way to make do with it, and I think they like the options they have with Bulovas and Justin there. They've got players there. They just need consistency. And I'll tell you what, the one that flies under the radar, too, is special teams. They need Skylar DeLong to be a better punter as well. They sort of took J.K. Scott a little bit for granted the last few years. We see what he's doing in the NFL. Alabama's got every other piece, but they really just need to get that special teams going. And maybe instead of winning by 30, they'll win by 40. They're in a real good place, but special teams continue to be a bugaboo.
No doubt. Alex Scarborough from the capital of the world. Well, actually just Tuscaloosa. Alex, thank you very much for the time. Good to talk to you.
My pleasure.
Good stuff on the Crimson Tide. I'm not sure the Tide was even mentioned on Monday on the program, so we thought we'd get them on just to satisfy the masses. So is Alabama the best team ever?
Yes.
According to
Everyone.
According to Mark from the west side of Rochester, they are.
No, that's from everybody, Paul.
Oh, okay.
We have anointed them, Paul.
And it's fair. I'm not trying to go rat poison
First of all,
here.
they're not the best team ever.
Paul, there's no team you could name, and I bet you can call up our friend Danny, okay? Danny Sheridan.
Danny Sheridan.
And if you asked him at any point against any, like if you gave him a point spread against any team, 2 through 25, they'd be double-digit favorites against everybody.
But that's every year for the most part.
No, it's not.
We have
Last year
the
they
media's
were,
gone
last year they were
overboard
the
this
same
year,
way.
for sure.
No, but Clemson was close. It was under 10 from last year. Yes, I remember. This is the first time. So if you're double-digit point favorites against everybody, if you're sitting there and dominating opponents, regardless of their schedule, regardless of who they are, why can't you just embrace it?
We saw Old Dominion beat Virginia Tech. We saw Syracuse come within a hair.
Okay, Saban.
These things happen all the time. We're not that good. I mean, Alabama's not that good. I'm sorry.
Paul, you're just doing what you were told to do.
Well, Saban just texted me. He said, "Shoot down the guy from Rochester."
Listen, I'm saying honestly.
He meant literally, but
I'm saying honestly. Like we talked really about the fans being in there. You have to want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's too early to make that proclamation because Alabama has played a pedestrian schedule. They have the entire month of October off, and it's just
but that's college football, fine. But if you're dominating teams the way they are in September, even if you have a pedestrian schedule in October,
you
only have a couple of games to see it in person. You only have a couple of times to see it.
Tell me, really,
we wait all year to get 12, 13 games.
When have we not had this conversation over the last 3 years?
When Clemson won the national title?
That team was just as good as this.
People still they were calling it a fluke too.
Yeah. Well,
that team beat Michigan State 38-0. Or was that the year before?
Michigan State hasn't scored a point in the playoffs. But I'm just saying, I'm just telling everybody they should enjoy it.
No, that was that year.
You only get the best team of all time once.
With each year I talk to you, Paul, this conversation seems to escalate, and we've done this a few times, and now this team just looks every bit as frightening, and I think it's because of the offense. It's because of Tua Tagovailoa, spreading the field out, so many weapons on that offense, and I mean their point differential is 206. They're beating. That's how much they've beat teams by it, and we haven't really seen them play a full, complete game. So I would say to be determined, but certainly possible.
But how do we know very much about them right now? Because Louisville was a bust. They turned out to be a subpar team, and A&M good. Played them at home though. We know in November they'll up the ante a little bit. But right now they've really been playing middle to lower division teams, have they not?
That's going to continue this week, where I think they'll take care of business against Arkansas. You might learn something about their defense. I think you could judge the Missouri game against Georgia, who gave up 29 points against a pretty good Missouri offense with Drew Lock. But I think Alabama will take care of business there and against Tennessee. So it sets up that November where they'll finally play a few ranked teams. I mean, we're still waiting on Tua Tagovailoa to throw a touchdown in the fourth quarter or play in the fourth quarter. It's been that kind of year so far. And I do think they'll need to get tested at some point so we have that evaluation. We do have that on teams like Georgia, Ohio State, and Clemson so far.
Okay, other than Alabama, and this has become the question, you've had a pretty good view of college football. We've seen most teams play significant games. Ohio State's played a couple already. Who, in your estimation, is a team that can challenge Alabama?
I think the three I just said on various levels, but I would say of Ohio State, Georgia, and Clemson, to me, Ohio State would present the most problems potentially. I think just because of Dwayne Haskins and what he does with his arm. I know it was close against Penn State, but they battled back in that game. And then I think from a defense and just sheer talent standpoint, I looked this up before we came on, and if Alabama and Ohio State were to hook up at some point this season, there'd be 127 players with a 4-star better ranking. I think the talent level would be comparable, and that's why I think Ohio State, with the coaching matchup on top of it, would probably be the best competition.
But it's all about Tua. He took the starting job, he ran with it, all the way to the top of most people's Heisman list. The sophomore quarterback completing 75% of his passes, and he's the only QB in the country with as many as 14 touchdown passes without a single interception. And how about this? 1 out of every 5 of his completions goes for a touchdown. Tua and former SECer Kyler Murray are not just leading the country in QBR this season. In fact, they have the 2 highest marks through 5 games in the past 15 seasons. The 2018 class of SEC legends has been announced. They'll be honored in Atlanta the weekend of the SEC championship game, and there are some star tailbacks in this group, much like Arkansas's Darren McFadden. He finished second in the Heisman Trophy voting back-to-back seasons in Fayetteville. He was a 2-time SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and he ranks 3rd on the SEC's career rushing list. In fact, was 2nd till last year when Nick Chubb passed him up. Alabama is off to Fayetteville to face Arkansas, and they take a 77-game non-conference unranked.
That's pretty good, right?
Unranked,
I think that was good.
Unranked winning streak into that matchup.
Yeah, that's good.
Arkansas feeling okay, though, probably about its best performance of the year. But Nick Saban, he's got his own way. He'll address this one with his team.
Fayetteville has always been a difficult place, to play. We have a lot of respect for Arkansas. They actually played, Chad Morris being a new coach there. You can see every week they're getting better and better, and certainly played their, best game of the year last week against Texas A&M, and had opportunities to come back and at least tie the game.
They have been the standard for college football over the last several years. There is if watching film on them, there's very few deficiencies. They do what they do, and they do it at a very high level. But with that being said, it has been and it always will be about the Arkansas Razorbacks and our ability to continue to come back to work.
I think they've, switched around quarterback personnel. Maybe that's sort of impeded some of their progress at times, but I think they now settled on, Ty Story being the starting quarterback, and, he's been productive, and this is a very capable team.
FPI likes Alabama.
That's
98%.
That's high.
That's very
for
high.
Arkansas.
But there is a chance. It's 2%. You give me
So you're saying, yeah.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. You're saying there is.
2% chance.
I'm saying 2 is too high.
This is the 6th time the Tide has had at least a 97.5% chance to win an SEC game under Nick Saban.
Wow.
6th time.
Well, I guess they're getting it done.
It is conference play.
Nick Saban considers oh, come on. I can't even read this with a straight face. Nick Saban said this is a trap game. No, it's not. Well, according to FBI, this is a 98 percentile. I mean, this game, other than the Citadel, is a lock cinch. It's not a trap game. You're playing a team whose moral victory was keeping it close against Texas A&M. Try again, Coach. Let's start with the Crimson Tide. Tua talked yesterday. Everyone praising Alabama, one of the best teams ever. You understand what happens in the trenches. You understand what happens on the field. What do we know about this Alabama team through 5 weeks of the football season?
What we know is that this is it could shape up to be one of the greatest college football teams of all time, and they know it. But now you get the process that comes into being, and I think this is where the coaches are really striving behind the scenes with the leaders in that locker room to make sure that they don't take the rat poison. Nick Saban, a few days ago, a week ago, whenever it was, asked the media to please say something bad about our program because the rat poison is what their biggest danger is. And I think what's going on right now is that there's a tremendous focus on treating every drill in every practice as if that drill was what would determine the rest of the season. And that's hard to do when you've got young kids that are being told by everybody else that they're the best football player and team on the planet. But I think that right now is the not the struggle, but it's the focus of this team. Treat every game like we could lose this thing. And that's hard to do when nobody can really beat you right now.
Brian,
we're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready for next Saturday.
First come, first serve. We're ready. Mizzou.
And Coach is right. I don't care that it was Parents' Weekend. I can see my parents any other time. But when Alabama has their home games, I will tell them to wait, and we will be here. So next week, Mizzou, I'm here already. We're going to study here. We're going to sleep here. We're going to be all ready to see this Alabama football team because you asked us, because you told us to, Coach.
I mean, that's the plan, Paul. Think about it. I mean, if it is first come, first serve, when are we going to open the gates? Are they open today? Because if so,
It should be.
We snuck in here. Their gates aren't open, but we
It's
figured.
a student section, though. It's open all the time for us, no matter what.
Paul, is it a big deal? This whole student conversation, the idea that nobody was there for an 11 a.m. kick against Louisiana Lafayette
During Parents' Weekend.
Is that who they play?
Yeah,
Louisiana Lafayette. Seriously, though,
I don't think it's a big deal.
Because Nick Saban is a foremost authority in college football, especially in the state of Alabama. And if he speaks on something, it's for a reason. So it's just interesting.
By the way, I think there were empty seats at the Arkansas State game too. I'm sure that was bugging him then. He just had other things to talk about.
Right.
Well, fine, but what else do we have on the schedule? We got Mizzou. Okay, that'll be packed.
Mizzou's
We're here for this.
It's not a great home schedule. You're right.
No, well, we're here because Mizzou's coming here for the first time ever.
In Locktober. I'm going to lock him down.
Yep.
We're already looking past this week. It's not a trap game. We know what Coach Saban said. It's not a trap game. Okay, Arkansas this week. That one's early.
You know what? It's going to be
We're going to be
weird.
up watching.
If it is for, we're not even going to leave after the game on Saturday.
Yeah, well, hey, hold
against
on.
Mizzou.
I think for the Citadel game, I think Alabama students should try to have 150,000 people for that game.
Well, I know that Thanksgiving's the weekend after that, and that's another chance for me to see my parents, but I am going to just hold off because I will make sure I am here.
No, we're not leaving. We're not leaving until
You're
November 25th.
not leaving the stadium?
No, not until November 25th.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's the last game of the season.
You know
is
what?
the 24th.
That's what we have to do. We are camping out here.
Yep.
Guess what? Alabama's still number one. Not only are they good, there's talk about maybe this being one of the best, if not the best, Alabama teams of all time. As someone who played against Alabama every year in one of the big rivalries at the time, your thought from a little bit outside of the college football bubble on the Crimson Tide?
I go back to something I just said a minute ago. They don't just recruit talent, they develop it. And those kids who come in they have zero fear of competition. In fact, they're actually recruited on the idea that you're going to come in and compete every day. When I do my NFL games and I have Alabama kids, when I run into them, they're very smart now because I think it was Ryan Anderson. Remember him, the linebacker from Alabama who had such great instincts? He goes to Washington to play in our nation's capital, and someone asked him about practices, and he's like, you got to be kidding me. This is so much easier than we had at Alabama. Now, what he meant was we do things differently in the NFL, but at Alabama, they get after it every day. So these kids come out ready to compete, well-coached, effort is no problem whatsoever, and they all love ball. I just did a game with Washington. They're talking about Jonathan Allen and who's the young man that they drafted first round this year, the big defensive tackle. Oh God, I don't know why his name's escaping me. He was the big star in the semifinals with the interception. Anyway, they come in and the defensive line coach goes, I can't get them to do anything but talk ball. That's all they want to do. So this is the type of kid you're getting, and that's what you're competing against. And I think Phil Savage's book was aptly titled, "It's fourth down every day at Alabama," and that's just how it is. And until people are able to get kids like that and compete at that same level, we'll have this going on. We'll have this continuing, and they are the perfect team to chase because they set a great standard.
But the talent may be a little bit more in Tuscaloosa. Your assessment right now of what you've seen and what we may be seeing the rest of the way from Alabama.
They're a freak show team right now. There's really no way to put it. I played Alabama in the national championship in 2009. Their defense was phenomenal, as defenses always are in Tuscaloosa. But now, Paul, their offense is on another level. You finally have a quarterback who can make all the throws, but more than that, I think what's underrated in all of this is Alabama's offensive coordinator is giving the offense freedom to thrive. You haven't had a quarterback and an offensive coordinator that have collectively been able to do what this Alabama offense is doing. If this Alabama offense can keep clicking, I don't see any team being able to stop them.
So with a team that good, what could go wrong?
That's the question. With a team like Alabama, the only thing that can go wrong is if they fall asleep at the wheel. What I mean by that, Paul, when you're a team like Alabama and you know you're going to win, you can roll into a game on a Saturday afternoon. You can waltz out there when it's nice and sunny and really just kind of sleepwalk through the first half. And for the most part, Alabama can get away with sleepwalking. But when they face a big-time opponent, if they come upon an LSU or in the SEC championship game, you might get punched in the mouth. The thing about Alabama is they can usually take that jab, take that punch, take your best blow, and still beat you. But that's the only way Alabama does fall short.
Let's check out today's headlines around the SEC, starting with AL.com. Alabama starting left tackle Jonah Williams is still questionable with a sprained ankle. Nick Saban hopeful he will get back this Saturday against Arkansas. If not, Matt Womack is ready to go. You remember him. He was a starting right tackle all of last year. Speaking of the Tide, Alabama's backup safety, Daniel Wright, he has been suspended for a violation of team rules. Wright played in the first 4 games as a backup safety, which means if you're the backup safety for Alabama, you're in there probably in the second quarter, playing most of the second half.
And his penalty will be sitting in the student section. Where the Crimson Tide show up tomorrow as a huge favorite. Tom Luganbill already there. And Tom, thanks for the time. Let's talk about this game. Nick Saban mentioned it was a trap game. I'm sure that got a big chuckle. And then he went off on the students. Is he having that much difficulty talking about the opponent tomorrow?
Well, I will say this. I think the opponent tomorrow will actually be the best defensive team that Alabama has played to this point. And I think that's where some of the concerns are. And if you remember, Paul, a couple of weeks back, Nick Saban was asking the media to start pointing out some of the negatives, pointing out some of the areas of improvement that need to take place. Well, I'll give you a few. Right now, Alabama's not very good in terms of their kicking game. They're 5 of 9 on field goals. They're bottom end of the pack in net punting. All right, they have not done a good job of tackling in space with their youthful secondary, giving up a lot of yards after the catch. Last year at this time, they had no turnovers on offense. Right now, they got 4. So there are little things that Nick Saban wants to work on that he's trying to magnify with his team, and it's difficult to do that and get people to take him seriously when you see the margin of victory that you're seeing each and every week. And I think that's why he calls this a trap game. He knows that Arkansas has had a rough go of it on offense, but defensively he sees them as being a pretty good team.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did play better last week, Tom,
Yeah.
and I'm interested because I was in the air during the game and saw some highlights, but it's not like it was a game I wanted to go back and watch frame by frame. What did you see in the A&M Arkansas game to make Razorback fans believe?
Well, the first thing that I saw watching the tape, it took me about 2 or 3 series in, and I sent a group text to our broadcast crew here, and I said, hey, guys, Arkansas is pretty salty on defense. Their issue right now offensively is they can't stop turning the football over at inopportune times. That's really what's gotten them in trouble. You go back and you look at the Auburn game, and you see that score, and then you go look at the box score, and you're saying, wait a minute, with 1 drive to go in the game, if you tell Chad Morris that Auburn just got their 200th total yard of offense, he would have said, how many points did we win the game by? So when you look at the little things that are hurting Arkansas right now, it's turnovers. It was ineffectiveness early at quarterback, but now that they've settled on Ty Story, they feel like they're making some progress. The team, I think, really respects Ty Story because he's been beaten up. It was the Auburn game that changed the chemistry of this Arkansas team, and I think as an overall unit, that's why you saw them come out and play so well against Texas A&M. They gave Texas A&M fits. They were down 17-0. They come roaring back, make that thing a game, and what do? They turn it over on the final drive. So eliminate the turnovers, improvement will come from Arkansas. Will it be good enough to pull an upset in what Coach calls a trap game tomorrow? I doubt it.
Tom, listen, I know you're a straight shooter. I also realize you're doing the game, so I think we all want people to watch, and they will.
Sure.
First of all, we don't want people leaving the game early. Saban will come after you too, so don't turn it off. I am curious about that though, because that was really the biggest story of the week. Nick Saban going off on the students. Your thoughts from a distance on what and why he did it.
Well, I think that he doesn't want the fan base, the student section, the enrollment to become complacent. He doesn't want them to become so expecting of the effortless wins that it's not worth their time. And I think in the words that he had this week for the student section, those are also words directed at his football team. See, guys, look at how bored everybody is with you right now. Well, you know what? If you're bored with this Alabama team, that means you're winning a lot of football games. I'll say this. This is what Alabama is right now, and this is probably why the students are leaving the stadium. Alabama is the extremely intelligent, brilliant student that hasn't been tested for AP courses, so he's just going through the motions and getting by because it's easy, right? The problem with Alabama is there is no AP course for them. There's nowhere up for them to go. What are they going to do? Go into the AFC South? So right now, the students need to be engaged with appreciation for the on-the-field performance by Alabama, and don't get caught up in being so complacent and getting bored with wins. It's hard to win. I don't care who you are each and every week.
So let me ask you about Alabama and the typical Alabama week where things that have nothing to do with college football are the topics.
We spent half my radio show deciding what sort of prop bets we should make if Arkansas would beat Alabama, because we figure it's got to. You could go as outrageous as you want because there's no way it's going to happen.
Listen, I've seen a lot of SEC football, so have you. I don't remember a 35-point road spread.
But it seems impossible, right? It seems impossible that Arkansas even covers based on what we've seen. That's what amazes me. I was trying to figure out, like,
Alabama's lost 2 spreads in a row.
that they have. 49.5. So
come on.
A little tough because
there'll be a point in that game.
Nick Saban
Alabama
is not a run up the score kind of guy.
Has a field goal to go up 49 to 10 or something.
Yeah, I'm more concerned because I know Alabama's going to roll. It's Tua Tagovailoa has just revolutionized prop bets. Like now the question is, what quarter will Jalen Hurts throw his first pass in? Will Mac Jones get action in the first half?
Is there somebody beyond Mac Jones?
That's a good question. I think we need to find out.
So the other part of this, and I'm not even sure why we're talking about it, but Saban on the fans. Sabanologists, of which I have an institute,
of course,
believe there's something more to it, although I've yet to figure out what that is.
There's always something more to it with him.
What to watch for, presented by Dockers. Number 1, Alabama. They've won 77 straight games against unranked teams in the AP poll. They'll try to make it 78 Saturday at Arkansas. The Tide unbeaten and rolling behind the arm of Tua Tagovailoa's nation-leading efficiency, an offense that scored at least 45 points in each game this season. And with that, we break out the blood pressure monitors because we like to make our guys uncomfortable. It is time. Does that sound like Chewbacca? Right there. That's Chewie. I heard Chewie. All right. Bold meter time. Ready? Yep. You want to go first?
I do.
Bold prediction, Alabama.
Bold prediction is that Alabama will punt once in the first half. Now, that's not saying, they're only going to punt once. It's hey, they're actually going to punt, something we never see from Alabama in the first half. With Alabama's offense, they have been extremely efficient on third down. We talked about the way they've been able to convert at almost 60% on third down. Tua's numbers have been ridiculous, 18 of 21 for 392 yards, 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions on third down. So they've been extremely productive. Boy. And I think the bold meter misunderstood what I was saying.
No, it's right on.
Now you're going to side with the bold meter? Now you're a bold meter guy?
You wanted to have a meeting with the bold meter before the show today.
There was he wanted an actual it makes sense, right? They're actually going to punt. Last week, 7 possessions, 7 touchdowns in the first half. They can name their score.
Okay, I know what you're doing here. It's like you're trying to make a cute bold prediction.
Yeah, it's cute. Hey, you're going to actually
There's no room for cute on SEC now.
Who's their punter?
Have you looked at us?
Alabama's punter. Who's Alabama's punter?
Desarna, I don't know.
Nobody knows because he doesn't punt. They're going to punt once.
J.K. Scott, no? Okay, fine. Bold prediction. Arkansas. We want Arkansas bold.
So if I have to get a bold prediction for Arkansas, I'm going with this. They will hold Alabama to the least amount of points that they've scored all year. That's bold.
Okay.
That is very bold.
What's their single
Seeing that Alabama could have named their score against anybody they've played all year long, Arkansas will rise to the occasion. You know why? John Chavis is going against Alabama for the 30th time in his career. John Chavis is going against Nick Saban for the 13th time. And he's got them figured out. He understands Alabama. He knows he doesn't have as good of players, but he knows how to survive. You know why? If you watch Arkansas and you watch their defense, they're playing with energy. As bad as this season has gone, They're playing physical. They're playing with energy. Hey, look, only gave up 17 points going into the fourth quarter at Auburn.
Yeah.
So,
okay, you
feel good?
Is the bowl meter working? Has anybody tested it?
They've got 10 turnovers on the year. I'm still going.
He's still surviving this.
Since their season opening win against Eastern Illinois, the Razorbacks have lost 4 straight. Tomorrow, they'll have the biggest test a team could possibly have as number 1 Alabama heads in to Reynolds Razorback Stadium on a 77-game win streak against unranked AP teams. To Northwest Arkansas we go, and that is where we find Greg McElroy, who's on the call of the Razorbacks hosting number 1 Alabama. G-Money, I know there's plenty of good reason to consistently and constantly praise Tua Tagovailoa, but as a quarterback, where can he improve?
Just with game management, that's really about it, Dari. If you actually remember back to the national championship game, they're getting ready to kick a game-winning field goal, and they had to put Jalen Hurts into the ball game because Tua didn't know how to center the ball in order to kick a field goal. So there's little aspects and nuances to playing the position that he's still learning. He's only a sophomore. He hasn't played a ton of football at this level. So understanding situations, understanding time and clock management, all those aspects he hasn't really been forced to learn just yet. So he'll get it. It might not come tomorrow because Alabama is a very heavy favorite, but there will come a time at some point this season where he's going to have to manage the game in the fourth quarter and manage the clock in order to run it out or excel it or extend it. So it's something to watch whether or not he's going to get comfortable with that over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, very heavy favorite, maybe an understatement, I should say. How can Arkansas, in this game against this competition, be in it into the second half?
They have to force turnovers, Dari. I mean, if you look at Arkansas, defensively, they're probably better than that 1-4 record would indicate. Their personnel in the defensive front has actually been quite good. Randy Ramsey, him being back, has been huge for this team. McTelvin Nagim has been a consistent performer for a majority of his career. So if you look at Arkansas, they are the best defense that Alabama's faced so far. You look at some of the other teams that Alabama's faced, Ole Miss, not great. The other teams leading up, Louisville, not great. So this will be the toughest challenge potentially for Alabama's offense. And if they can create some turnovers defensively and give the short field to this Arkansas offense, then it can become a game. But that's really the only way. Yeah. They got to force some mistakes by the Crimson Tide.
Bama hasn't lost a turnover battle since week 8 of last season, by the way. How about Alabama at Arkansas?
I think we're all in agreement here. Alabama's going to win this football game. It's just by the margin. I'm going Alabama 52, Arkansas 13. Alabama scored over 50 points in 4 of their 5 games this year. There haven't really been any contest yet. I don't think it happens this week either. I think Alabama can name their score, and Arkansas will have nothing to say about it.
I'm going to go Alabama 44, Arkansas.
I was
3.
wondering what you were going to do there.
That's right, because I already said they're going to hold them to the least amount of points they've scored all year long.
Which is currently 45.
That's right, which is currently 45 with Texas A&M, right? But here's what I do believe. I do believe that Arkansas can get some turnovers. They're third in the league in creating turnovers. They've got 10 so far. They've got 12 sacks. They're creating negative plays. You never know what happens on the road, but I'm going to say 44.
I know what's going to
happen.
3.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
I know what the result.
And Marcus, we begin with you.
Yeah.
A big one.
Yeah, sure it is for Alabama to continue going on their path. Deontay Thompson has been playing tremendous. These guys are playing defense at a high level, and this was the only question we had about Alabama's defense coming into the season. And Jerry Jeudy right now ranks 1 among receivers in yards. So this guy is rolling, and this has a lot to do with number 13, Tua Tagovailoa.
This dude somehow handled it masterfully. I mean, he kept Tua, and he kept Jalen Hurts as well. Coach Colasero sure counts us down to kick off ESPN Alabama Arkansas.
He hates this, but he'll be up 42-0 at halftime today, and it drives him nuts. Drives him nuts. He'll complain about the fans.
The Arkansas Razorbacks at Alabama Crimson Tide, the #1 team, facing off today about an hour and a half from kickoff on ESPN. We'll have Greg McElroy joining us in just a moment as they get ready for this one. And Alabama, Nick Saban making his way off the bus as they take on Arkansas, they are a 5-touchdown favorite in this one. Nick Saban probably will like this full screen. Tua Tagovailoa has been Player of the Year good, but beware of the September Heisman. We've prematurely crowned people before. Anyone remember Kenny Trill or Geno Smith, Leonard Fournette? He had the trophy wrapped up until he ran into Alabama's defense. We could also, of course, see Jalen Hurts today against Arkansas. Tua Tagovailoa, still no fourth quarter stats. Now to the TOL guys, Marcus Spears and his buddy Greg McElroy.
Welcome in, brother. This is my brother, Greg McElroy. Hey, first of all, that's weird, me saying your full name. I never call you that. What's up, G-Mac?
New phone, who dis?
Well, hey, man, you and the crew, you Pash and Lugs are there at Alabama, Arkansas today. Greg, what do you need to see from Arkansas? I want to go there first. What do you need to see from them to show that this team is improving and moving in the right direction with Chad Morris and this offense and Ty Storey at quarterback?
Spears, they've actually improved. If you look at the game against Auburn, yeah, you'll see a 31-point defeat. But if you look at their defensive production, Auburn had 200 yards of offense in the game. Then you look last week to the Texas A&M game, they played pretty well against Texas. Yeah, they got ugly early, but they fought their way back into the game. So this is a team that is improving. And today, against an Alabama defense that's been really good this year, they got to figure out a way to create some big plays. They don't have a very explosive group. They're going to be without Devwa Whaley. They're going to have to rely on some young playmakers on the outside that are really the only guys they have right now with true, legitimate SEC speed. So it's going to be a handful for this team, but they really have. They've improved. They've grown a lot in the last 2 weeks. Even Nick Saban said so when we visited with him last night.
Greg, what are the concerns for Nick Saban and his football team in certain areas of this Alabama football team? What are some things that he's concerned about that they need to get better at?
Well, he's just worried about guys getting complacent, man. I mean, you heard him a second ago, and I think that really makes him lose his mind. He even went off on the student section this week because he feels like that group is getting complacent, right? So I think that's what he's constantly trying to battle. If you're going to look at the X's and the O's, do they have a truly dynamic edge rusher on defense? That's a legitimate question. And can they put teams away in the fourth quarter if they have to have a drive and milk some clock? I mean, if there's one thing that Tua Tagovailoa has done a remarkable job of, is taking shots downfield and creating big plays. But is he okay just running the football? I don't know. I guess that's like, if you're really searching for areas where Alabama can improve, you're going to have to look really, really hard. But for the most part, they've been terrific this year, and it should come as no surprise given the play by their quarterback.
Immediately following us here on ESPN, Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, counting us down to kickoff in Fayetteville. Josh Jacobs, multi-dimensional guy that Mike Locksley has used so efficiently. And really, you look around the SEC and the country, and Alabama Titus is really spreading.
And what happened in the Arkansas game?
Against A&M? Yeah. Bad ball, number one. But number two is, and we talk about it all the time, Paul, the psychology of these players in college football.
Okay.
I guarantee you A&M said this. Arkansas, they've seen Arkansas lose to North Texas. Look, you watch film on these guys every week. And plus, Arkansas did some better things in the game.
They looked good defensively.
Yeah, they did some better things. So that had a lot to do with it.
And interceptions. Interceptions will kill you.
Yeah, you know, the one thing, too, that Jimbo Fisher said after that game was that he was going to get on those guys for penalties, mistakes, interceptions. You got to think from the Kentucky perspective, you almost wish they had a better game against Arkansas. They could have had a fire lit under them this week. Alabama is playing Arkansas today, and Tua Tagovailoa arriving there in Fayetteville. About 26 minutes to kick off between the Crimson Tide and the Razorbacks. What does Tua have for us today? Does he surprise us?
Giving everybody a look at Crimson Tide quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, taking his team on the road to Arkansas, a game that Nick Saban said could be a little bit of a trap game. Arkansas defense has played okay. Not sure they've seen anything like lefty from the state of Hawaii. You look at these numbers in the first quarter, he's been dealing nearly one of every 5 passes, goes for a touchdown in the first 15 minutes or so.
I mean, we keep talking on and on and on about him, but I think the thing you have to really watch today, if you haven't watched a ton of him, just the rhythm that he's able to get into right away and the accuracy in which he throws the football.
No pass attempts in the fourth quarter just yet, but he's taken over the leadership of this football team. Tua, speaking for the first time since preseason camp, talked about his dynamic with the man he replaced, Jalen Hurts. It is completely a really unique situation, the way they've handled each. Tua has really established his leadership on the team as well. You know, Nick Saban compared him to dealing with Drew Brees when Drew Brees was at Purdue and Nick was at Michigan State. Nick ready to talk some serious football with Tom Luginbill.
Coach, you're constantly battling complacency with this football team with the success you've had so far. What's been the message to the team this week?
Well, you got to compete against yourself. You know, you're trying to compete to be the best player that you can be. We're trying to compete to be the best team we can be, whatever your unit is. So, you know, that's really the challenge for us. I mean, we always respect our opponents in terms of what we have to do technically to have a chance to be successful, and it's all about challenging yourself and executing.
Given the offensive production we've seen from Tua to this point, it can be hard to forget that he's just a true sophomore. What type of growth would you like to see from him over the next half of the season?
I think, you know, situational football is something that, you know, young players always have to get accustomed to, and he's very instinctive in what he's done. I think we've done a really good job on offense, scheme-wise, so that the players have a really good chance to be successful and utilize the players that we have. So can't ask them to be any more efficient, but we can do a better job situationally.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Tom, Nick, thank you. That game will follow us at top of the hour.
You know, a lot of people may hear that interview and roll their eyes like, you know, what else could they do? But honestly, his players, they buy into that. That's a big part of, you always talk about the process and the culture. And these receivers are the biggest beneficiaries of the quarterback move from Jalen Hurts to Tua.
You got to congratulate Nick Saban. He has done a magnificent job with those two quarterbacks.
Sure has.
Other guys not.
Yeah, especially in today's era.
Yeah,
he's kept them both.
Hasn't been getting many carries for Damian Harris. Hasn't had to. They've spread the wealth with a lot of running backs.
Yeah, they have such a balanced offense now with Tua at the quarterback position that they don't have to rely so heavily on the run. They have a lot of talented young wideouts, too.
There's Ty Story, Arkansas starting quarterback. He's not going to have Devon Whaley, who's been on the injured list a lot, and Jeremy Patton, tight end, both going to miss this game. He will have LaMichael Petway.
Chad Morris, first-year head coach. The offensive coordinator at Clemson for a long time and knows offensive football, but right now still, much like we talked earlier in the show about Chip Kelly and Scott Frost, still needs to be able to bring in his pieces to truly be able to run his offensive system.
You can see here some of our picks. Everyone agreed, so we're not going to waste any time on these, but you can tell that Alabama was picked and also Georgia, and it's going to come up, and Auburn. Anyway, it's there somewhere. We're going to come back on camera, though, now and make the rest of our picks for the biggest and most important games to talk about. Oh, there we go.
One job.
There we go.
Job.
That's good. We like that.
Supposed to do that.
As you can tell,
job.
we all agree on those.
Even if it is a close game, they want both guys to play. Alabama, per kickoff return, leading the country. They lead the country in just about every offensive or special teams category. Short kick, live ball, scooped at the 15 by Josh Jacobs, and he is tackled short of the 25-yard line. We'll do the best to bring you the action here. 2nd and 10 from the Arkansas 25. And Story looking to dump it off out of the backfield instead over the middle to the tight end O'Grady, and he gets about 8 yards. Alabama scored on its first play. Arkansas its third play. Story has a completion out to the 43. It's a first down.
They're so talented. It's just, are they playing complete just yet?
Story over the middle to Austin Cantrell. He's got another Arkansas first down. He's in the game. He's in the slot and now comes into the backfield. And Hurts gets the handoff. And he's out to the 29-yard line.
I know they want to see his production ramp up.
Story lobs it downfield for Boyd. And Boyd lowers the shoulder on Deontay Thompson.
Just a free release, and you see a little bit of a rub route. Mack Wilson, number 30, is Ty Story been dynamic enough at quarterback to hold it long term? Probably not, but he's the best option they have at this point.
O'Grady on the tight end screen. It's a first down inside the Bama 40.
Is extremely low.
Is it arrogance or them just saying we got to try because it's not like the perimeter's easy either. Here's a strike by Story, a first down.
Excuse me, against Arkansas.
Again, that negative play on first downs killed Arkansas all season. Story off play action. He's got O'Grady inside the 10. It's 1st and goal for Arkansas.
Those aren't picks. Those are rubs.
Rubs if you're an offensive guy, picks if you're a defensive guy.
Story, end zone again, and this time he hits his tight end O'Grady. Touchdown, Razorbacks.
Drive. Yeah, it was, and there wasn't a whole lot to it. Just a little corner route you'll see by the number 3. This is a pretty simple coverage, and they didn't pass it off right. You see Diggs, number 7, who they're trying to basically inside out that stack right there, and they did not pass it off. You see 15, Xavier McKinney stay inside. Diggs is supposed to stay outside depending on where the wide receivers crossed. Diggs lets the receiver get over the top of him.
All right, but 3rd and 3 here for Alabama. This is big for Arkansas's defense. Got a little momentum. Can they make a play here against the number 1 offense in college football?
One of the best in the country on 3rd down as well.
Tua's going to throw it. Now flushed out of the pocket. Trying to get to the first down marker. He's pushed out. It's going to be close. They'll mark him short.
For him.
Alabama going for it on 4th down and 1. Going to hand it to Damian Harrison. He gets stood up. He didn't get it. Harris was there first for the Razorbacks. That front 7 for Arkansas can be stout at times. They were here.
Trying to go with just a little power. A little surge, and you see number 24, Brian Robinson, just whiff in the hole. You see him, look at him right there. He's just standing around. He doesn't hit anybody. As a result, the unblocked defender fills that gap perfectly.
A design quarterback run here for Story. And he gets about 8 yards.
Take good pursuit angles on the first play. So Arkansas is probably thinking to themselves, we're in this, man.
And a huge running lane for Boyd. Inside the 10. And then hit out of bounds. At the 6-yard line, a 32-yard run.
Yeah, and watch the pullers. The left guard, Yeldon Froholt, and Ty Cleary, the center. They're able to pull and get out in front to create new angles and gaps in this Alabama defensive front. And Boyd is a chance to become a star in this league. These speedy wide receivers way downfield.
And here's Najee Harris. Falls forward to the 42-yard line. It's a gain of 7 for Harris, who's from the Bay Area. And the ball came out, and it was recovered by Arkansas.
And before his body hits the ground, it looks like that ball is moving. Arkansas has new life.
After video review, the runner's right elbow was on the ground prior to the ball coming out. It'll be 2nd down.
Tonga Vailoa slides up, goes deep for Judy, on the money, touchdown Alabama. What a throw by Tua, perfectly tossed to Judy for his 7th touchdown.
We said just a play ago, this is where Alabama likes to take shots. They didn't do it on 1st down, they opted to do it on 2nd down. They run Irv Smith, he grabs that safety, and as a result, you have one-on-one on a post over the top with Jerry Jeudy. And look at this work by Jerry Jeudy, working out, attacking leverage. You see that safety hold on Irv Smith.
Didn't see much. What a year he's had, though, Tonga Vailoa. Wide open out of the backfield is Hayden for an Arkansas 1st down. Alabama having weaknesses on defense or just complacency because you're playing an Arkansas team that's 1-4? Answer that after this play. Story going deep, and it's pulled in at the 20-yard line by Deion Stewart against Trayvon Diggs for 37 yards.
What a great catch. Climbing the ladder. And Stewart working against really tight coverage by Diggs. Well played. I mean, a great catch and throw is going to be.
Here's a swing pass to Hayden. Gets a block inside the 15. Close to another 1st down.
By Alabama's defense.
Give Chad Morris credit for making the in-game change. Here he is again. Oh, it was a jump pass version, and it's a dart for a touchdown to O'Grady.
When you're 6'7", you can see over everything. And this was actually pretty well covered. It's man coverage defensively by Alabama, and you have Deontay Thompson just working against the bigger O'Grady.
Type of challenge.
Tua in the pocket. Ball is batted around, incomplete. Tua got hit, and they ruled that the hand was going forward.
Tua just kind of lose track of how long he's been standing in the pocket. And you see the ball moving forward there.
Yeah, it was actually Watts that deflected the ball.
Replay review.
But that's fine in the last 2 minutes. But there's no reason why you can't have coaches' challenges throughout the game. Boy, it looks like that hand is going forward, don't you think?
It does to me, yeah. It definitely looks like that hand is coming forward. Does the ball move a little bit in his hand as it's coming forward? It's tough to tell when he loses
After video
grip.
review, the ruling on the field of an incomplete forward pass is confirmed. Second down.
Just not enough evidence to overturn anything.
You've got to challenge your offensive line, get your back some reps, and get some toughness back into your run game on the ground and push people around.
Story steps up in the pocket, and it's juggled, but caught for a first down.
It's a group that needs to continue to improve as the season goes along.
3rd and 7. Story in trouble. Gets out of there. And takes a shot from Carter, but looks like he got a first down. There is a flag down.
But yes, of course, if you go to Alabama, you must know the history.
Juggled by O'Grady, then he hangs on. There's a flag in the backfield. Bodies are everywhere.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Number 92 of the defense, contacting the helmet of the passer. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run, automatic first down.
It's on Quinnen Williams. And Arkansas in Alabama territory, where they've been a handful of times in this game. And look at the running lane for Hayden. Whacked at the 33, but after a 17-yard run, they've been able to.
The uncovered guy and breaks on it. So explosive at safety.
Off play action. Catch made by Petway, brought down by Surtain. Pressure off the edge on 3rd down. Story gets rid of it to Boyd. And look at Boyd fumble the ball. It's recovered by Froholt, but not afraid of contact there, Boyd. Just got to protect the football.
A lot of pressure.
Greg, watch the hit here on the quarterback, too, by Buggs. He got him in the head again.
Yeah,
wow.
He did. Man, Alabama's very lucky right there. That should have been a penalty. That should have been a first down. That's roughing the passer. I know it's not a traditional throwing posture, but he's releasing the football and you hit him in the face.
And the field goal is good by Connor Limpert. 48-17. Alabama late 3rd. Does Virginia Tech pull the upset?
I like Notre Dame.
No running room that time. Harris sticks Jacobs for a loss at the 31.
Genuinely, I mean, one of the more talented teams in the country.
Hurts on 3rd and goal. Everybody covered. Hurts getting outside the pocket, and it's incomplete. Nice play that time.
Another pretty solid performance against an offense that has a nice plan for him.
Rakeem Boyd, who's looked really good running the ball. Gain of 9.
Fit for what they want to be long term, but he is a great offensive mind, and it's going to be a tough test to get this program going again.
Boyd, I like the way he plays, not afraid to stick his hand in there and stiff arm Savion Smith.
Get more guys like Rakeem Boyd, more speed, more explosiveness, and that is what they're going to have to do if they're going to contend in this league.
Tech, our ABC Prime game. We got Kentucky on the road at Texas A&M. Kentucky ranked higher than Michigan in football, as Story runs out of bounds after getting the first down.
Get him right.
Come on, Dave.
They're not going to be in the college football playoff, all right? So that means they're not back just yet. Boyd to the 16-yard line.
I know Penn State lost last week, but they had every chance to win it. So, yeah, there's a lot still left on the vine for Michigan.
Story on the rollout. Nice throw. Touchdown catch. Devion Warren. A lot better in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's handled adversity well. I mean, he has put the ball on the deck twice. That's a nice throw, rolling to your left. over the outstretched arms placed, and it's fear that if you don't play well, you'll get yelled at. It's fear in a lot of ways, and fear makes you better. Being uncomfortable usually means you're pretty good.
And you're a freshman.
Yeah, and you're a freshman. That doesn't happen very often, so it's a guy to keep an eye on.
Good job by Story there, man. To avoid a sack and then on the run, complete the pass.
SEC, and they're making progress, and that's got to be a real welcoming sight to Arkansas fans and to their coach.
What a Story, pinball forward to the goal line.
They win today, didn't win last week, didn't win the week before, but man, they're playing hard, and that's got to be happy as well.
Cole Kelly in the game at quarterback, and the 258-pounder. It's Pater. That's 30 points for Arkansas. Nick Fitzgerald makes some things happen offensively. He's had a disappointing year so far. But Alabama offensively has been anything but disappointing. Nick Saban's team has been dominant. Another blowout win for the Crimson Tide. Tua Tagovailoa continues his march towards the Heisman Trophy. He's had a year through 6 games unlike any quarterback maybe we've ever seen. 18 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Good on the top.
Roll Tide, y'all. #1 Alabama taking on Arkansas. First quarter action. Yeah, just hoping both teams have fun.
I want to have some fun.
Tua Tagovailoa to Irv Smith Jr.
Yeah, this is exactly how you draw it up. Irv Smith Jr. had a long touchdown catch in the first play of the game. Here he's stumbling, fumbling, and the ball gets loose, but right into the hands of Henry Ruggs III. It's just how you draw that up if you're Alabama.
Second quarter, Jalen Hurts in at quarterback, Tagovailoa at wide receiver, Tagovailoa blocking on the outside. Hurts takes it himself.
I don't know if I'd call that blocking by Tua. He kind of ran around, but he got in the way. That's automatic.
Make yourself useful.
Later in the second, Tagovailoa to Jerry Hayes.
It was a efficient day for Tua. 10 completions, 334 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Nick Saban, though, disappointed in the defense.
Coach, lots of positives, lots of things to coach off of as well. How did you guys feel that you came out and played after the second half?
I thought we played a little bit better for a while, but we scored 65 points, so you can't complain too much about that on offense. But defensively, we didn't execute very well, and you got to give them a lot of credit for the job they did. But it's a little disappointing that we're not making the improvement we'd like to make on that side of the ball.
Thanks to our man, Tom Luganbill, as well. Let's take a look at Tua Tagovailoa's great performance. Saturday's PlayStation Player Index, 4 more touchdown passes, just 3 incompletions.
Ridiculous.
Against the Hogs, leaving Tua 18 touchdown passes and just 25 incompletions this season. Heavy favorite to win the Heisman. Those numbers are ridiculous.
#1 Alabama on the road in Fayetteville. They've won 77 straight against AP unranked teams. Irv Smith from Tua Tagovailoa. Smith battling, breaking tackles. Loses it, but Henry Ruggs there for the recovery and the touchdown.
What do you always teach your players, offensively or defensively?
Chase the ball.
Always chase the ball, because you never know what's going to happen.
Good things happen when you're around the ball.
Absolutely. Great job by Ruggs. And again, effort and discipline, that gets you points.
Yeah.
14-0. Watch this. Jalen Hurts lined up. Now goes in motion, takes a handoff from Tua. Love to see this. It's just, who doesn't root for Jalen Hurts?
Everybody should root for
Everybody
Jalen
should
Hurts.
root for Jalen. Now look, Hurts at quarterback.
Get a block.
Tua lined up wide.
Get a block outside Tua. Oh, yeah, look at him. Give him.
He breaks one for 27.
You don't have to have a deke leader. Just get his way. As Coach Spurrier used to say, just dance with him.
And then Josh Jacobs in from a yard out in Alabama in a hurry. Less than 10 minutes is up 21-0. But guess what? There's something about this Razorback team you got to love. They do not quit. Ty Story to Raheem Boyd out of the backfield. Little catch and run.
I thought it was the first time Arkansas really showed some rhythm. They showed some promise on offense. It looks like the reps are building up.
It's a good throw.
Yeah, great throw. Ty Story was better today. I just thought they moved the ball well against this defense.
Story threw for 230 yards and a couple of scores. And then Boyd again. Raheem Boyd went for 102 on the ground against this Alabama defense on 15 carries, almost 7 yards a carry. And then Story on his way into the end zone loses it. Bama recovers, and it would have been a 1-score game.
Yeah, this is a huge play in the game right there. As you mentioned, the 1 score. And what does Alabama do? when you give them opportunities, they make plays. They went right down the football field. 5 plays, 99 yards in less than 2 minutes. And, hey, what we say every Saturday night, Chiz, what's that? Perfect throw. Receiver, all he's got to do is put his hands out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here he is again. You saw Tua to Jerry Jeudy. There it is again. Tua to Jeudy one more time. Tied over 300 yards passing at the break. Nick Saban's take on the offense in the first half.
What would you like to see out of your run game in the second half?
Well, you know, they play a lot of sync. They play a lot of stuff where you're going to throw the ball. So if they're going to play, we're going to throw it. So it don't matter. I don't care how we score. Do you get points for running more than passing?
Nope.
Don't matter to me.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was a happy Nick Saban at halftime.
Made himself laugh.
Yeah, he did make himself laugh. Damian Harris in for the score. Tide wins it 65-31. Saban not happy with the D.
Look, I'm responsible for that. All right, we need to coach them better. We need to prepare them better. They need to be able to make adjustments in the game better. When we see different things in the game, they got to be able to play them on principle, and they have to have confidence that they can go do that. And I just felt like, you know, we didn't do a good job of that. That's my fault. That's my responsibility. That's us as coaches. We got to do a better job of teaching these guys so they're better prepared when the game comes and they can make those adjustments that they need to make. You're not really competing against the other team. You're really competing against yourself. Are you really playing as well as you're capable of playing? And if you're doing it on a consistent basis, down in and down out, relative to what your job is, the discipline you need to do to execute and do your job. And we're obviously doing that better on offense than we are on defense. But we also want the offensive players to be very aware that there's things that we can do better on offense and that we're going to continue to try to work to improve on.
Well, they're not going to quit. I can promise you that. There's nobody in that building over there that's going to quit, and they continue to fight, and that's been our message from the get-go. We're focused on us. We're focused on putting a foundation in this program that's going to last forever, and you do that by you finish what you start. You learn how to finish strong, and you learn to fight. And that's what these guys are continuing to do. And it's been day after day, week after week of watching these guys come in that building and just focus on us getting better.
Now, Saban was not thrilled with his defense because in this game in Fayetteville, they allowed season highs in points, yards, and third down conversion percentage. By the way, let me say this. Arkansas fans realize what Chad Morris is talking about, that there is no quit. This is the second straight week that they have given their team a standing ovation as they've gone off the field after a loss. It happened in Arlington last week, too. In terms of Alabama, is Nick Saban on to something here? Are there concerns with him defensively as you see it?
I think he's concerned. I think, look, they played a 1-4 team and they gave up 31 points. Look, guys, there's a standard at Alabama, and I can tell you, I know exactly what that team meeting is going to sound like tomorrow. He's going to walk in there and going to say, we have a standard, we've set the standard, and yesterday we didn't live up to the standard. You have a running back that rushed for 102 yards. They weren't good on third down, so they couldn't get off the field on defense. They gave up over 400 yards and 31 points. Enough said. So look, the standard has been set. They didn't live up to it today. I wouldn't be concerned. There's definitely things they got to fix. But, I mean, this is not, you know, DEFCON 1 or 2 and all things are going crazy. They got to correct some things. Let's not forget, guys, they got a lot of young players on defense. Their whole secondary is new. So sometimes they're going to get in a game and they're going to get some things that they've never seen before. Nick referenced it. You build defense on concepts. And once they get good at understanding concepts, they'll be able to handle some of those nuances that happen in a game that they haven't worked, but right now they can't.
What a great situation to be in, though, to be able to work young guys in the secondary and have an offense that can score like this to erase mistakes that they make back there. But this is not the standard that we've come to expect from Alabama's defense. Only 1 sack today, only 1 takeaway. 50% on third down, that can't get off the field. Those are things that we don't typically say about Alabama's defense. So nice that can happen and still win by 34 points. So as you said, not DEFCON 1 by any means.
When you have an offense like this, you can work through the growing pains of a young defense, right? All right.